The crypto markets have been going totally freaking crazy over the last few days. Ethereum's just hitting new all-time high after new all-time high. Polygon is going crazy. Lots of coins are hitting new all-time highs. Very, very exciting times, and there's been a raft of bullish crypto news coming through in the last couple of days. We had a big Asian company buying Bitcoin. US banks are lamenting that they didn't have Bitcoin in their funds, and that's why their funds are underperforming. We have news about an island in the Caribbean that is now using Bitcoin. Big Cardano news. Magic the Gathering also is going into the NFT market. Big stuff. So make sure to stick around for the whole video because we have lots of exciting news to cover today. My name's Lark. Every day I make videos talking about cryptocurrencies. So if that is something you're interested in learning more about, I highly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and also click on the notification bell to know when I put out a new video. So let's go ahead and turn over to the charts to get started off with. Let's start off by having a look at Bitcoin here. Now we can see that Bitcoin is basically still within that bearish downtrend that we've kind of been in for a little while now, under the 50-day moving average. And look exactly what happened here. We came right up, tested the 50-day moving average right here. Just look at that. Blammo, and rejected and back down we're coming. So the first attempt to break that line of resistance didn't actually end up working out in Bitcoin's favor. Nothing to be excited about here. You know, Bitcoin's always to be excited about, but in terms of the technicals, everything's fine. We're just building up that momentum right now to try to crack back over that 50-day moving average. And when that does, that will say that the bulls are back in control of the market and that the price is getting ready for probably its next massive rally. So get ready for that. But that hasn't happened yet, so do watch for the price to close a daily candle over top of this purple line here. Now, while Bitcoin has been kind of meh, Ethereum has been going absolutely freaking crazy over the last couple of days. Just look at this new Ethereum all-time highs. We got up to $2,799 freaking dollars for Ethereum. That is absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Ethereum has been mega bullish recently. So that is really good to see. And what's very interesting is the Ethereum Bitcoin pair, because while Ethereum obviously has been going crazy, it has also been going crazy versus Bitcoin. So we'll zoom this out to the weekly to get a good view on it. So this is our mega breakout pattern for the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing that's basically been forming up for a few years now. So we had this breakout attempt back in the start of the year, came back down, tested as support. So that's that bullish breakout retest situation, and then up it comes. So we were talking about this last week when it was just kind of around here. Since then, we're up another 10-15% or whatever. And so really bullish to see is happening. One Ethereum is now worth 0.05 Bitcoin. Our next major area that investors and traders are looking for, 0.08. So that is the target I think that we're looking at here short term for this breakout. But you have to keep in mind, Bitcoin's not going to be in this state of just sort of limbo forever. Bitcoin is going to come raging back, and when it does, it's going to come raging back with a vengeance. All of the altcoins will probably take a bit of a back seat during that time, so do get ready for that. But until that happens, there is a big opportunity here for altcoins. We can see Ethereum going up versus the Bitcoin pair has been a very bullish indicator of what we see happening for the altcoin space in general. By the way, if you want to buy yourself some Bitcoin, some Ethereum, some Dogecoin, maybe not Dogecoin, guys, be careful of the Dogecoin. I know you guys are piling on Dogecoin, be careful. Anyway, besides the point, if you want to buy yourself some great cryptocurrencies, head on over to BINANCE. It is the best place to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrencies. They have an incredible range of products available for you. And if you use the link down below in the description to start your account, you will get 10% off of your fees and up to $700 in bonuses, which is obviously totally amazing. Now let's go ahead and get into the news. So the first big story is Asian video game publisher Nexon has bought $100 million worth of Bitcoin. This purchase represents less than 2% of their total cash and cash equivalents on hand. But still, that's a pretty gosh darn big purchase, and we shall see, of course, if this ends up being that situation where they got their first hit of Bitcoin and that 2% ends up being 5 or 10% by the end of the year. We've seen quite a few companies doubling down on Bitcoin as time goes by. But this is great to see a big company outside of the USA actually taking the plunge here and getting into Bitcoin. Because I know that there's a lot of attention given to the US markets. Obviously, the US markets are the biggest in the world, so it's understandable. But let us not forget that the world is a big place and there are a lot of companies with a lot of money in their cash reserves that could be spent on Bitcoin. Now, in total, there's something like $10 trillion in cash globally sitting in accounts of companies, sitting in their treasury reserves. Only around half of that money is in the USA. So think about that. The other half is outside the USA, in places like Japan and Korea and Hong Kong and France and the UK. So there's a lot of opportunity here for these international companies to start coming into crypto. We see this company Nexon leading the way for other Asian companies potentially to come on board. And this is exactly what happened when we saw MicroStrategy come out with their big purchase. It inspired other companies like Square, right, and like Tesla to actually take the plunge as well. Sometimes you need these early movers to be the provers that, hey, it's okay to do this and that it can actually be really profitable to do this. So very excited to see these guys hopping onto the Bitcoin train. This next story gave me a bit of a chuckle when I saw it. So the United States bank BNY Mellon has blamed no exposure to Bitcoin for their funds underperformance. This is according to a recent filing that they made. This is quite the story, honestly. This kind of stuff blows my mind because right now we have banks out there that are going, man, we don't have exposure to Bitcoin and it's hurting our bottom line. Had we had Bitcoin, even a couple of percentage points in our funds, we would have done better. I mean, when you start to realize the implications of a statement like this from a big bank, you realize that there's going to be a lot of FOMO happening over the rest of the year with these different banks, these different funds, hedge funds, private offices, millionaires, billionaires, all these different people rushing to get an allocation of Bitcoin, especially while it's under $100,000 because, yes, Bitcoin will be a 6-digit asset in the not so distant future. When that happens, I mean, that's going to unleash an entirely new flood of investors coming in because ironically, the more expensive it gets, the more serious of an asset it becomes to certain investors. But the savvy investors, they're getting positions right now. They're getting into Bitcoin. They're getting it for their funds. They're getting exposure via different, for example, Bitcoin ETFs in Canada, or they're buying Grayscale Trust or whatever it might be. They want a piece of the Bitcoin pie and they're scrambling to get it because the returns are hard to ignore and it becomes a point where it becomes bad diligence. It becomes almost malfeasance to not have Bitcoin as part of your funds. So this is a really interesting statement to see from BNY Mellon. Next up, I have a bit of a feel-good story for you. So the island of Bequia has become the world's first fully Bitcoin-enabled community. They say that Bitcoin will be accepted for everything from real estate to the grocery store. Now, this island is part of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This is a small Caribbean island nation. It's the second biggest island in that nation. So it's not, the biggest island in the world or anything like that. This is a small community that is going all in on Bitcoin. And I absolutely love this. This is such a cool story for adoption. And now we have this cool little island in the Caribbean where you can go and use your Bitcoin. This is going to be a Bitcoin-friendly community. I mean, just imagine how cool that is to be able to go somewhere and just live off of Bitcoin completely. Now, back in 2018, I actually did a 3-day trip to Australia where I tried to live only off of Bitcoin. And yeah, of course, inevitably, you look back on that trip and go, wow, that cost a lot of money in today's prices of Bitcoin, which is always, of course, the problem with spending Bitcoin is that nobody really wants to spend their freaking Bitcoin. But that being said, if there's nowhere to spend it, people are also not going to spend it. So it's pretty cool to see that this island has opened up business for Bitcoin. And yeah, there are people who are earning interest in Bitcoin, who are getting paid in Bitcoin. So they might be interested in taking up an option like this to go and buy a house or go to the grocery store or the restaurant or whatever it might be and pay in Bitcoin. So pretty gosh darn cool to see. Now, next up, we have some big Cardano news. So the Ethiopian government will be using blockchain to benefit 5 million students. So basically, the Cardano has been working with the Ethiopian government for quite a long time now. So this partnership was a long time in the coming. They've been working on research and development for a long time, building this out. So what essentially this is going to be a decentralized identity protocol built on Cardano's enterprise blockchain called Atala. So, I don't know the implications that it's really going to have for the main Cardano blockchain, since this is for the enterprise version of Cardano. But it's still pretty gosh darn cool. It's a very, very high-level partnership. This is probably one of the biggest announcements in terms of total number of users getting exposure to a blockchain-based application. This is going to affect 5 million people's lives, and it's a great inroad for Cardano to actually get a real strong foothold in Africa, in Ethiopia. So it's a really cool story to see. This is actually blockchain changing people's lives, putting public records on the blockchain, identities on the blockchain, because everyone's got their frickin' mobile phones with them all the time. And you can now have a decentralized store of this critical information instead of having it sit in a piece of paper and a file folder somewhere, locked away in a filing cabinet with corrupt officials overseeing the whole thing. This takes all that out of the equation and puts people back in charge. So it's a really, really exciting story. Obviously a big moment for Cardano, and I hope that this partnership actually ends up delivering more directly for the Cardano main chain in the long run. And the final story for today, Hasbro plans on bringing out NFTs for Magic the Gathering. It's happening. It's happening. I feel like my life has now come full circle, in all honesty. It's a pretty big story. In case you can't figure it out, I was definitely a Magic the Gathering nerd back in the day. So it's really cool to see that we are now getting to the stage where a major card game like Magic the Gathering is actually going to be releasing NFTs. Now, we already do have a crypto native game like this called Gods Unchained, which is basically Magic the Gathering, well, probably more like Hearthstone, but still, it's a very similar concept, but with blockchain-based NFT unique cards, which I think is really, really cool. Now, to see this coming in, it's just going to be massive. The collector value for Magic cards, the physical cards, has been absolutely crazy. Black Lotus is the rarest and most valuable Magic card. I feel like I should have just bought Black Lotuses some years ago. Grabbed 10 of them, just stored them up, because the prices on these things these days, they're worth hundreds of thousands of dollars a piece. So I think that early NFTs for Magic the Gathering are probably also going to hold their value really well long term, because this is a massive, massive card game with a lot of very enthusiastic users behind it. So this is super cool to see. I love this story. Magic the Gathering on the blockchain. It's finally happening. Finally happening. Anyway, so much happening in the news. Very exciting stuff. Your question for today: Would you go to this small Caribbean island of Bequia and spend your Bitcoin? If you had the option to take a 1-week holiday there, pay for everything in Bitcoin, would you do it? Or is that just crazy talk? Obviously, you have to hodl your Bitcoin forever. Let me know down below in the comments section. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and peace out till next time.